Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. It's not going well for a lot of people at the SNP conference, is it? Some are having better times than others, some are having particularly bad times. One of those who's having a bit of a bad one is Keith Brown. Now, he's done his speech. We will cover the speech in another video because he opened his mouth and put his size 9 in it. That's for another video. But he did do the interview yesterday morning on the TV, and he had a real car crash. And it's worth looking, or we'll look at this article over it, because he's not very bright. Now I will give you this with Keith Brown, right? He's typical of the SNP. He's not very good. He's not very bright. I don't think he's on the evil side of the SNP. You have this spectrum. On one end is the evil side, and on the other end is the stupid side. Now, with Keith Brown, I definitely think he's more towards the dim side than the dark side. But even so, it's always he's good value for money. Put it that way. He's launched 1,000 YouTubes because he is a little bit. Well, he doesn't quite understand what's going on. Anyway, we'll look at this to see why he got this one wrong and why Jackie Bailey was We'll come to Jackie Bailey. Anyway, here goes. So we are. SNP branded a busted flush following a car crash cost of living interview. Keith Brown has proved the SNP are out of ideas, out of steam and out of touch. Now that's exactly the sort of thing I say. I usually say something along those lines about them. I use the 3 outs, out of ideas, out of luck and all that. So I'm wondering, because this was Jackie Bailey saying this, I'm wondering, Jackie, do you watch me? Do you watch my channel, Jack? Do you? Because if you do, well done, thank you. Big wave for you, Jackie. Because you do seem to be keep nicking me ideas. It's not the first time I've noticed this. So I don't mind you having them. But, keep watching. That's all I say, Jackie. Anyway, Keith Brown started the day with a car crash interview just hours before taking to the stage at the SNP's Aberdeen Party conference yesterday. And like I say, we will be doing the speech later. That's lined up. See what I mean? I do say that we plan this stuff. I have them all laid out. I know the order. I know what I'm doing. Don't just throw it all together. Anyway, the SNP's deputy leader targeted their biggest election rivals in Scotland at the Labour Party, accusing them of backing Brexit, sticking with austerity and of being a no-change election vote. Well, that's a bit rich, talking that Humza Yousaf called himself the continuity candidate, and that meant no change either. So, open mouth, insert size 9 firmly in it. Questioned by the BBC on the core problem with the SNP's independent solution. Solution's a strong word. That's carrying a lot of weight in that sentence, isn't it? Everything in it that won't provide immediate support to struggling families. He said Westminster listens to the SNP MPs. No, really, it doesn't. He was later accused by Scottish Labour of putting independence before support for cost of living, which, of course, they put independence before everything. There could be a child dying on the street, and he'd go, how will this help independence? And if it can't, he'll let the child die. Not him personally, I'm sure, but the SNP as a party corporate, Anyway, this follows a significant agreement from the SNP that the official de facto referendum policy, which is a joke, for the Nationalists will go ahead with winning the majority of seats at the next election. A higher bar than previously proposed by the First Minister. Indeed, so high a bar, it won't happen. Given the way the polling's going, they're not even going to be anywhere close, are they? It's going to be so bad for them. Anyway, asked about the policy, Mr Brown told BBC Good Morning, I think it's clear. I think it's one that provides an alternative to the old consensus between Conservative and Labour. No, it doesn't, because it's just not realistic. It's never going to happen at even, and you're not going to get the majority of seats. But even if you did get the majority of seats, it's a meaningless thing. The government is going to go, ignore you. Nothing. It's a nothing. It's not a referendum. You can call it what you like, but it ain't that just because you call it that. Scottish Labour Deputy Leader Jackie Bailey says, and it should be Dame Jackie Bailey, thank you, says, this morning's car crash interview from Keith Brown shows an SNP out of ideas, out of steam and out of touch with the people of Scotland. And she's damn right. And she's been right. They've been like that, though, for years, several years. From putting independence before the needs of the Scottish people to parroting desperate Tory attacks on Labour, it is obvious, she says, that the SNP is a busted flush that has become completely disconnected from the concerns of the people of Scotland. While the SNP and the Tories offer nothing more than strife and incompetent Scottish Labour, blah, blah, blah. She's doing a politicking there, going on about it. Anyway, Mr Brown said there's a huge pressure on families across the country. Yes, mainly caused by SNP policies. Come on. Your high taxation, for a start. He says, in terms of whether there are mortgage payments, paying energy bills, and ironically, one of the most energy-rich countries in the world, and even paying for food. Yes, if only your income tax wasn't quite as high. That would help. Also, if people weren't forced to pay more for other things like whiskey, beer, artificially inflating those prices, which is shown to have zero effect whatsoever, except to impoverish people. He says, our strategy now leaves out the option for people to break the cycle by choosing independence. People don't want independence. People in your own party don't want independence. He said, we can rid ourselves of this austerity-ridden government and no change under Labour. Yeah, but change doesn't necessarily mean change for the good. People look around Scotland and see how bad it is now, and that's with the safety net of Westminster. How bad will it be when Westminster isn't there to catch the baby? He says people will be looking for something that fixes their cost of living struggles. What you're offering them is potentially jam tomorrow, said the BBC. Mr Brown said, first of all, there's no change if we can have Labour, if we have Labour. Yes, but if you have the SNP, there's no jam, ever. He went on to say that with the majority of SNP MPs, there's a good showing and Westminster listens when they may otherwise not. Well, imagine what it's going to be like after the next election, when you're lucky if you get 18. And I mean very lucky if you get 18. Could be even fewer. Could be, what was it the other day? 6. One of the guys worked out it could be as low as 6 with tactical voting. At which point, who's going to listen to you? Anyway, that's that. He's Keith Brown, bit of a crash, doesn't know what... Ooh, look at that. Look at that, zoomed in really quick there. Doesn't know what he's talking about. He keeps making promises. He doesn't understand the policies, and he doesn't understand that people don't want what he's offering. He says we've got to get a message across, and people have got the message, and they just don't want it, Keith. Nobody wants it. It's not looking good, is it? Anyway, I shall round off and come up, but I will, before we finish the video, give you the heads up on the next one. It won't be on the next video, but on the next video involving Keith Brown. One of the other things, of course, Keith Brown did is what they all do. He was asked a question and he couldn't answer it, so he answered a completely different question. He's got no alternative. He keeps saying, oh, we need independence. But he knows full well people don't want independence. He knows that independence won't cure the problems because they aren't UK problems, they're world problems. The cost of energy is a world problem because of the Ukraine. It's nothing to do with Westminster. Independence won't change that. And it's not as though he can send the Scottish Army in to sort it out, because they won't even have one. And of course, the taxation rate being higher will only go up more. He was asked, wasn't he asked about the cost of living? And of course, immediately he's saying that, he was going, it was Tory that, and then Labour will be the same and all that. But he wasn't giving a solution to it. He's incapable of giving a solution to a problem that has no solution. And especially, he failed to admit that there was that the income tax being higher in Scotland meant people were working harder for less money. What do you do? What do you do? You've got these people. Like I say, he's on the dim side, not the bad side, to be fair. But, if you actually had people who could offer solutions rather than just blame others, it would be a refreshing change. Unfortunately, we got Keith Brown. Anyway, I said I was going to give you a heads up on the next Keith Brown video. It does revolve around his speech, where he, let's just say, misquoted, or at least he fell into a trap, basically, and he's giving the same false information as others have given, even though others have been caught out on it. But he can't help himself because he's got to follow the line. That's my phone. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much, and goodbye.